Nicolas Cage dropped $150 million on mansions, yachts, and even a dinosaur skull. Burt Reynolds went all out with $100,000 on wigs. And Kim Basinger bought her own city to fulfill a pretty bold dream. Today, let's talk about celebs' extravagant decisions that left them broke. Nicolas Cage is known for being a financial disaster. He was once a top earner in Hollywood with around $150 million in the bank. But he spent it on 15 houses, 4 yachts, 9 Rolls-Royces, and even a $276,000 dinosaur skull, which, by the way, he had to return. As he explained, "I bought it at a legitimate auction and found out it was abducted from Mongolia illegally, and then I had to give it back." When the financial crisis hit, owing $6.2 million in taxes, Cage had to sell most of his properties. He basically had to take any acting gig he could get just to avoid bankruptcy. In 2016, Johnny Depp's total net worth could have been as high as $650 million, but he managed to spend it as recklessly as Nicolas Cage. Depp owned 14 properties, including a private island, and had crazy daily expenses of around $2 million per month. This included $200,000 for a private jet, $150,000 for security, and $300,000 for staff. According to Johnny Depp's former managers, one of his most outrageous splurges was spending $3 million to blast his friend Hunter S. Thompson's ashes out of a cannon. "I just want to send my pal out the way he wants to go out," he said at the time. Depp tried to sue his management company, but they fired back, saying he ignored all their advice and had no one to blame but himself. Back in the 90s, MC Hammer was swimming in cash, pulling in over $33 million thanks to his iconic single, "You Can't Touch This." But even though he kept his iconic status, let's just say he couldn't hold on to his money. He blew through $70 million in just 5 years due to some questionable spending choices. For example, he had around 200 staff members, most of whom were his friends. On his payroll, Hammer had $500,000 alone go to his staff. And then he splurged on a $30 million mansion in California, complete with a gold-plated front gate, a bowling alley, and even a recording studio. By 1996, Hammer found himself $13 million in debt and had to file for bankruptcy. He had to sell off his mansion and pretty much everything else. Kim Basinger and a group of investors decided to spend $20 million on a tiny town in Georgia with just a few shops and 500 residents. She was planning on putting some kind of attraction on the land, maybe a movie studio or a theme park. Neither of those materialized, however. Kim ended up selling the town for only $4.3 million in 1995. Even before that, she had some financial problems after she dropped out of the movie Boxing Helena, and the movie studio sued her for almost $9 million, forcing her into bankruptcy. Thankfully, the actress and the studio eventually reached an agreement, and the debt was reduced to $3.8 million. Phew. Then there's Heidi Montag. The actress, best known for her role on MTV's reality series The Hills, made a terrible decision when she decided to spend $2 million on a music album called Superficial. When asked if she thought her album was as good as Michael Jackson's Thriller, she said, "I definitely do. I think people might not see it now because it's my first album coming out, but I've spent as much time, maybe more even, than Thriller." Well, the public didn't seem to agree with that, since Thriller sold around 100 million copies worldwide, while Superficial sold only 1,000. That was a huge problem, because back in 2008, Heidi had some rather expensive habits, like going to the mall and dropping up to $30,000 a day. At her lowest, she even faked a divorce. Yep, her split with Spencer Pratt was all a publicity stunt to make money because they were broke. Let's talk about 50 Cent and his crazy money roller coaster. After hits like Into Club and Candy Shop, he was swimming in cash, seriously. But he also spent it like there was no tomorrow. For instance, he dropped over $4 million on Mike Tyson's mansion, complete with a nightclub, 25 bathrooms, and 2 basketball courts. When asked about it, he said, "I had it for 14 years. The upkeep was around $700,000 a year." He lived large, throwing extravagant parties and cruising in luxury cars. But with lawsuits and legal bills piling up, he eventually had to file for bankruptcy in 2015. About that, he said, "Business people will do that in a heartbeat before losing money, because it means they have the ability to be secure and invest again." Kelly Rutherford is best known for her role in Gossip Girl. The TV show was doing so well that she was reportedly making $486,000 during the final season. Today, she's kind of out of the spotlight, and that's because, for years, she got caught up in this really tough custody battle with her ex-husband. She once said, "Every penny from Gossip Girl, my pension, my stocks, has been spent fighting for my children." It's really sad, but despite giving it her all, she lost custody of her kids and ended up filing for bankruptcy with just $24,000 in assets and $2 million in debt. Tough break. But hey, after a decade, she's managed to bounce back. Now she's quietly getting back into the media and talking openly about everything she went through. Yes, it was a challenging time, it was a heartbreaking time, but I focus on the good most of the time. Kelly Rowland started out as a babysitter, earning €50 at the end of the day. So when she skyrocketed to fame as a singer in Destiny's Child, she was astonished by the huge amount of money. The star admitted that, at one point, she nearly lost everything trying to keep up false appearances. "When I got one of my first paychecks, I went to the grocery store and bought almost everything that my mom used to tell me was too expensive." She said many people tried to warn her to manage money and invest, but she didn't listen. "I remember just going completely nuts on trips to Paris and Italy, blowing like 30 grand in 30 minutes at Bergdorf Goodman. It was ridiculous." But apparently, she still treats her loved ones to some luxuries, like buying a $5,200 Swarovski crystal-studded bathtub for Blue Ivy. Speaking of luxuries that make you go, huh? Let's talk about Burt Reynolds. The iconic actor was spending big on real estate, a private jet, 150 horses, and over $100,000 on toupees. Then there was that pricey divorce from Lonnie Anderson, which sent him back more than $2 million. As part of their settlement, Reynolds had bought her a house but sometimes failed to pay the $9,000 mortgage on it. With all these expenses and his income shrinking, Reynolds couldn't pay off a $4 million loan to CBS. So he ended up declaring bankruptcy in 1996 with debts of over $10 million. Francis Ford Coppola rose to fame for directing iconic movies like The Godfather and Apocalypse Now. However, his movie One from the Heart was a major setback. Despite a budget of $26 million, it only made around $600,000. This led to deep financial trouble over the next decade, and he filed for bankruptcy 3 times. Did he learn from this experience? Well, it's hard to say, because he recently invested an estimated $120 million of his own money into his new project, Megalopolis. When questioned about it, he said, "The money doesn't matter. What's important are friends, because a friend will never let you down. Money may evaporate." Do you agree with Coppola? Even though this list includes celebrities who face some tough financial times, it's amazing how they manage to bounce back. Almost like a Hollywood movie plot, but even better. That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.